Hey everybody, welcome to our Friday broadcast, Friday session of the Elul New Light activation. It is day 15. We're in the middle of the month. The moon is full, which means that our potential as receivers is full. And now it's time to bring out the deeper inner. That's how it works. So it's Friday. It's almost Shabbat here in Jerusalem. And so I want to keep it quick, and that's kind of ambitious because there's really so much to say about this topic, but we'll at least start and say some things today, and then we'll see what happens. So there's a kind of a command in the Torah that doesn't get talked about so much. The Rebbe actually talked about it a lot or referred to it a lot, but it's profound, and that is Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. We're meant to serve God with joy. It's not the thing that we typically think about first or second or third, actually, but joy is a frequency. It's a vibration that allows for the breaking through of barriers, that allows really for an expansion outside the limitations of yourself. There's an expression that the Rebbe repeated many times, simcha poretz geder, that joy breaks through boundaries. That's boundaries in yourself, that's boundaries between people, and that's actually boundaries between worlds. So he also would add often that simcha paretz kol gidrei galus, that simcha breaks through all the boundaries of the exile. What is the exile? It's a state of separation. It's a state of oppression. It's a state of sadness and smallness, aloneness, of a core inner conflict between who you are and what you want as a human being in life. You know, like peace, like health, like love, like enough, enough. Like enough of everything. There's a core conflict in exile between that normal, natural human desire for a good life and the serving of our divine purpose. So one of the many features of Geula, one of the many shifts that comes in with redemption is that there is no more conflict between what you desire as a human being, obviously, like we said yesterday, in its purity, not in a distorted, exploitive sense. Yesterday, if you didn't see yesterday's live, you want to go back and watch it when you can, because it's giving you the rules of how to live from a vision, how to create, how to identify a desire and vision that's actually coming from your soul. Very, very important. But once you're living that way, then, or even moving toward living that way, then you can count on the fact that your inner self, which is emerging, your inner truth and desire, which is emerging, that your needs are also good, that they're godly, that's why often the Rebbe would give a blessing, and he would say, bless people with Tov Hanira v'Nigla b'Gashmias u'Varuchmias Gam Yachad, which means with revealed good, revealed visible good, physically, materially, and spiritually. And then the final two words, Gam Yachad. What does that mean? Both together. The explanation of that is the more physical, in that state of redemption, that higher state that we're moving into now, that we can choose to move into now, to flow with, to align with right now, is that the physicality, rather than physicality and spirituality being two opposites, two conflicting states of being, they are beginning to merge. So to the point where Gam Yachad, this phrase means that the more physicality, the more material blessings and abundance you have, the more it's going to be used for spirituality, for goodness, for godliness in the world. And the more spirituality you have, and the more you do things to bring more goodness and godliness into the world, including your own internal world, the more it should result in physical abundance. I hope you get this. It's revolutionary, but it's the fact. It's the state that we are moving into. It's the next phase of human evolution and divine evolution, because that's part of what Geula is. So I want to quickly talk about frequency and the law of attraction. So when you control your frequency, what is that? The vibration that you're living at, that's that energetic vibration that is in you and surrounding you. Good vibrations, good vibration means that your energy is vibrating at a higher level. Bad vibrations is when your energy is stiff and stagnant and at a lower level and in conflict with others. So we know that if we take water, for example, when water is frozen, it turns into ice. It's rigid, and if you hit it, if anything comes in its way, it will break. when it turns, when it melts, meaning that there's more warmth, which literally raises the vibration of the water molecules, so then it becomes flow, it goes into a flow state. When you raise the vibration even more by adding more heat, the water goes into a gas state, which the higher that vibration, the less space that water or that gas takes up. Ice is rigid and takes up where it is, nothing else can be. Water is flowing and it will make room, it will move with its environment. And gas, it literally can move through walls in some cases, or certainly moves around obstacles, doesn't take up physical space. So the same with us, want to raise our vibration. Joy is a high vibration experience. And it breaks through those boundaries because you're now no longer rigid, you're no longer ice. Okay, so when you can raise your frequency, your thoughts will automatically change. The higher your frequency, the more profound, aligned, peaceful, connecting, geula, dik your thoughts will be. And your thoughts change. So when you change your frequency, you change your thoughts. When you change your thoughts, you change your reality. Kabbalah and Hasidus are full of this idea. Now here we come into the law of attraction. The idea that our thoughts co-create, that our thoughts have impact. The Torah says, "Machshava moelet," that thoughts help. They make a difference. Like we said, joy breaks boundaries. Trach gut wird sein gut. I'm just throwing these out quickly because it's time. So when you think good, it will be good. Famous aphorism in the Hasidic tradition of Chabad, at least, that the Zohar says, when you shine a radiant countenance above to the heavens, heaven will shine a radiant countenance to you. I've mentioned some of these things in previous lives. Havayat Silcha, God is your shadow. There's so many different sources for how this works that we actually can influence reality. So we've got to move out of victimhood. But how does that happen? Are we victims of our circumstances, or are we co-creators? I'm going to say it depends on where you're coming from. I'm going to say it depends on what you're connected to. I'm going to say it depends on your attention, your alignment, what you allow for, and creating that congruence in your thought, speech, and action, and raising your frequency. So from one perspective, just like the same exact molecules can show up in the form of ice, or the form of flowing water, or the form of gas, so the same with us. We can be victims of creation. The more physicalized we are, the more ice, so to speak, like we are. The lower our frequency, the more we're going to we're staying in one place, we're hard, we're rigid, we're stagnant, and if something steps on us or hits us, we break. But when we're in a state of water, that's kind of more Zen-like, just to use that term, much more flowing, much more able to adapt to circumstances, to work with the reality that we're given in order to move things like Aikido, let's say, like a martial art that uses energy of the opponent to create a desired result. When we're like gas, then we're really, the word is sublimation, when it gets to the point where the molecules just, become one with the core energy. So anyway, you get the idea. When we change our frequency, we are able to connect with higher frequencies of reality, higher dimensions of reality. It changes our thoughts. We fulfill all of those different Torah states of being that I just described, where we can be connected. Obviously, it's not only having a high frequency, it's having a high frequency and high consciousness that co-creates in accordance with the Torah, where we're aware of God and we're aware that Ein Od Milvado, everything is God, and that we have the power to create miracles because of our connection. But we have to move out of the rigidity of the ego-based identity. We have to become more energy than matter, more potential than identity, more spirituality than physicality in our awareness, in our emotions, in the frequency that we vibrate at. So I want to also add that Kabbalah explains that just like quantum physics, my dad was, Oliver Shalom was a physicist. He was very prominent in his field, internationally known in his narrow field of applied mathematics, physics, and fluid dynamics. How fluids flow, what happens to fluids when they move in different environments. Anyway, he was very insistent to me that our thoughts are one thing and reality is another. Now we see that represents the apparent dichotomy between physicality and spirituality. the physical and the spiritual. Now, people talk about quantum physics. Certainly, I'm not an expert in that, and probably most of us aren't, but we understand enough to know that there is no such thing as reality, as materiality without consciousness. Now, it's interesting that Kabbalah also expresses that principle that everything is energy in different words by saying that everything is divine light. And when things show up in a certain way, it's because of the thickening of the light. So again, what causes things to thicken and become dense? I don't know. So anyway, that's the frequency at which they're vibrating. So to change a frequency, again, like I said yesterday, and this is kind of a summary of things that I've said throughout this past week, you want to work from a vision. Why a vision? Because a vision represents the desire of your soul. If you missed yesterday's, I'm going to say again, go back and watch it, because there's a lot of information there. So when you work from a vision, that vision has to be something that your soul desires, and desire doesn't feel like constricted, lonely, in scarcity. Desire feels like when you think of your favorite food or the most wonderful experience you can imagine, your body moves forward, your energy rises, and you're attracted and moving toward that thing. You're motivated, you're inspired, you're aligned. That's the kind of vision that you need to connect with, which is part of your soul's purpose, which will automatically, intrinsically raise your frequency. And then you need to align with this, recapping from yesterday, align with that vision in every way possible in your thought, speech, and action, the three garments of your soul. And then to engage in, not then sequentially, but then at the same time, as part of this picture, to engage in conscious prayer. Ask, align, and then allow, meaning notice the new. One of the ways that the ego resists change, the ego hates change. That's why most people would rather be in pain and discomfort and sadness in their quote unquote comfort zone, meaning in the familiar, than risk the uncertainty of trying to co-create. Co-creation is unpredictable. The ego, the identity, does not like unpredictable for reasons that I don't have time to go into right now. But your ego loves to be, the ego, everyone's ego loves to be in a place where it knows what to expect. Good, bad, ugly, whatever, it doesn't really matter. As long as it knows what to expect. That's why the left brain keeps giving opinions. So when you can quiet down the left brain, ask, align, and allow. So we talked about alignment, the garments of the soul. We talked about asking, having a bigger frame, what that means. But now to allow means to master, to quiet down that continuous opinion giving of the left brain. That's the nature of the left brain, which has many functions, but one of them, the less proactive, let's say, the less effective, the less productive, is that the left brain is an opinion giver. This corresponds to the ego-based identity, where the left brain, the conversation that we have, that 95% of the time repetitive conversation, gives us a sense that we're on top of things. Oh, I know what they're going to do. Oh, I know their type. Oh, did you hear this? What the government? Did you hear what? Would you believe it? Do you believe? We all go there. But why do we go there? Because it's comfortable, because it gives a sense of security and stability being the operative word, to our identity. So when you can quiet that, and meditation does that, allowing, observing the new, opening, visualization, focusing your attention on beautiful things like forest, ocean, puppies, love, babies, whatever it is. You're opening, you're quieting that left brain, which functions like a closed gate between your higher mind and your actual everyday consciousness and your emotions and your actions. So you quiet that down and you automatically start to live with more of a question, listening, allowing, noticing, watching out for the new, watching out for the miraculous, noticing God winking at you, the synchronicities, noticing when something comes your way that you didn't expect. Even, somebody, like yesterday, somebody came over to pick up a book that I'd borrowed. It was very nice of her. And she left me a bag of lentil burgers that she had made that we had for dinner. They were delicious. Thank you so much. But I didn't expect it. So notice those, things come through people, things come through institutions, but it's all coming from God. It's like, are you in the flow? What's being attracted to you? What's being taken care of on your behalf? Notice it, notice it, notice it. Be on the lookout brain turned upward to receive. Because when you can quiet the left brain and open the right brain in this focused, aligned way, this is all part of one picture. Now your right brain, your mind, your consciousness becomes a channel for your higher mind, for that which comes from the source, that which feeds your right brain, known in Kabbalah as the koach hamaskil, the power of awareness, which is far, far higher, which is a place of you that's multidimensional. It's a super conscious power. And from there, so many things are possible that from the human realm, from here down, are not. So literally, you could see your left brain. There's probably too much information on this live. I'm just thinking I could probably give 10 hours of classes easily on this website already. But anyway, the left brain can present, when co-opted by the ego-based identity, can present a barrier that does not allow for the flow of your superconscious mind, which is totally co-creative, totally wise, totally connected, the mind of the soul. So all of this summing up, live from a vision, ask, align, allow, open your right brain, calm down your left brain. Don't be such a know-it-all. Before I got married, I by the way, it was very, it was before I met my husband, it was hard for me to imagine that I would meet someone who I really wanted to spend my life with, who felt the same way about me. And I actually spent significant time shortly before I met him saying to myself over and over again, you did not write the script for your life. Meaning, just because your left brain says, not so likely, how many of your friends, it doesn't mean anything. It means something within the limited scheme of the physical world, the ice level world. But when you move to the water level world, or the gas level world, the more sublime world, the higher, deeper dimension you connect with, the more fluid and malleable reality becomes. And that's what raising your frequency works on both ends. As you raise your frequency, simcha, serve God with joy. I am my beloved. I'm to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. Let yourself feel joy, not based on the past and not based on certainty, just based on now. It's a choice. These things are a choice. And then do things that reinforce that, to align your thought, speech, and action, to raise your frequency. Think about forest, or go out in the forest. Think about ocean, or dip in the ocean. Think about love. Like I said, puppies, relationships, babies, whatever, move your body, whatever it takes. Live from that vision, because that vision has a high frequency. Imagine yourself as if the vision is fulfilled. The more you do that, the more your thoughts will be different, and your thoughts create. Okay? The more aligned you are, the more you allow and notice with your higher mind, the more you're on listen and receive and not knowing, and being instead of the terror of uncertainty, the wonder and delight of uncertainty. The more you can do that, the more you're connected to your superconscious mind, the more of the soul's hidden powers will flow through. So all of this is very powerful, very deep, very real. We're just scratching the surface today, but it's I suggest watching this again. If you followed me so far, and if you haven't watched yesterday's live, I would suggest doing that as well, and really putting your attention over Shabbat in conscious prayer, and enjoy. Shabbat is a time when we are freed from the constraints of this dimension on a spiritual level. We're free from the usual. We have certain rules as Jews, at least, that allow us to lift ourselves up from mundane. Like, don't work. Why? Not only because you're not supposed to, you don't have to. All your work, all your work is already done. Step into that dimension where you can just enjoy, like God sat back on the seventh day, the Shabbat, and looked at what he had created. So step back, connect to God, look at what you've created. Be in prayer and contemplation. Be with friends that you enjoy, whatever your background may be. Have more presence when you eat, and eat things that not only sustain your body, which is super obviously important for your vibration, but also that sustain your soul. In other words, we're commanded to have better food, to enjoy more, to sit, a glass of wine, if that works for you, inviting guests or being a guest. Very special things, like it's the celebration, it's the private space between God and you, which you celebrate. which you use to connect. So that's my suggestion for you. And I'll see you on Sunday. Happy 15th of Elul. Keep up the transformation. Lots of love.